Britain once again stands at a crossroads. Torn between the US and Europe after Donald Trump's return to the White House, voices both inside and outside the government have urged Sir Keir Starmer to pick one or the other. Before we get into this story, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Labour has so far towed a thin line between placating the tariff-happy president and chasing a relations reset with the EU, both of which are set to come to a head in just a few weeks' time. But calls are rising for the UK to look a third way, one which neither risks a Brexit betrayal nor is tied to an increasingly unreliable America. There are just 3 countries with whom it is unthinkable that Britain would ever quarrel. 3 which Britain can truly trust. That's the message of Lord Hannan, the Tory peer, and fierce proponent of a 4-nation alliance bound by one king, which could redefine the UK's place in the world. In the Lords, he warned that our world has tilted on its axis. The US now sides with delinquent Russia at the UN, he said, while the EU, which should be bending over backwards to draw Britain into a defence and security arrangement, is hung up over fishing rights. On whom can we rely, he asked. The answer, some believe, is simple. Canada, Australia and New Zealand, Britain's strongest supporters and closest allies, are poised to step forward and stand tall alongside the UK on the world stage. The only thing I can say with certainty is that 30 or 40 years from now, we will not be quarrelling with the 3 large Commonwealth realms, Hannan told peers last month. And across the 4, a cross-party, cross-border movement is blossoming to cement the old allies together in an unshakable bloc. Kanzuk. Kanzuk stands for Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. But really, Hannan said, it stands for closer cooperation, military and strategic, among those 4 countries, as well as free movement of labour, the right to take a job in another country, and an enhanced free market. Foreign Office Minister Baroness Chapman has hinted that Labour would listen sympathetically to any proposal. But for now, Kanzuk's cheerleaders can chiefly be found among the Tories and Liberal Democrats. The Tory grouping Conservative Friends of Kanzuk is led by Lord Hannan himself, and also boasts Shadow Foreign Minister Andrew Rosendale, Shadow Housing Secretary Kevin Hollinrake, and ex-Brexit negotiator Lord Frost among its ranks. Despite pushing for closer ties with Brussels, Sir Ed Davey publicly backed Kanzuk in the Commons, and suggested Britain should look to a new strategic bloc alongside Australia, New Zealand and Canada. While at a launch event last year, which was ultimately derailed by Rishi Sunak's general election timing, former Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott lent his support to the cause. A subsequent Labour landslide and mass turfing out of Tory MPs forced the Kanzukers to regroup, and they finally came together in March 2025 for a formal relaunch. Conservative Friends of Kanzuk director Elliot Malik told that Brexit means the UK now has the freedom to actually go out and make the deals with its true friends across the seas. We've already done it with Australia and New Zealand, Malik said. And even though we're still using the legacy EU rollover agreement with Canada, hopefully we can sort something out. Speaking to the People's Channel shortly after Trump's initial tariff rollout some days ago, he said the levies really demonstrate that we can't rely on the old order. We can't even rely on countries who you'd thought could be close allies. You have to find something new, Malik added. Malik also cast aside concerns that Kanzuk could be seen as a reformation of the British Empire, which could present a political challenge among the 4 countries' growing young multicultural voter bases. And Lord Hannan himself has acknowledged that some may see the idea as imperial nostalgia, or worse, a pining for the White Commonwealth. It rests on economic similarities, similar security ties, similar diplomatic interests, similar foreign policy interests. And yes, there is cultural heritage, but that's only part of it, Malik said. And while he left the door open to the idea of developed allies like Singapore joining the bloc, he stressed that Kanzuk works as a gang of 4, as the quartet are virtually identical in so many ways. That truly is what it boils down to, he added. Across the Atlantic, polling is surging behind the idea. Some 94% of Canadians surveyed by leading campaign group Kanzuk International and Kolosowski Strategies backed a Kanzuk Free Trade Agreement, with support soaring past 90% in each province, and among supporters of all three major political parties. More broadly, the idea is consistently polled at around two-thirds support in the four would-be constituent countries. Canadian Premier Mark Carney has said his country's Aussie, Kiwi, and Pom cousins will be essential in deterring tariff threats from his southern border. And it is a similar story in the Antipodes. And though Australia's Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, currently facing down a federal election, has not campaigned on Kanzuk, his predecessor, twice removed Abbott, vowed that together the four countries can change the world for the better. Meanwhile, New Zealand Minister David Seymour has said the timing is perfect for Kanzuk, and his cabinet colleague Judith Collins has backed the Westminster system as a key tie which binds us. Lord Hannan, writing in The Telegraph last month, said, "For a decade, Kanzuk was treated by politicians as a worthy idea, but not an urgent one. Then came the second Trump term, the tariff wars, and the upending of US foreign policy. The leaders of the other Anglosphere democracies have been left stranded, like governors of outlying Roman provinces, when the Eternal City was sacked. It's by far the most popular policy that governments could feasibly implement, but haven't." In his column, he harked back to the words of New Zealand's Prime Minister Michael Joseph Savage, following Britain's declaration of war on Nazi Germany. And it is those words which, if Kanzuk campaigners are right, could shed light on the UK's true friends in its time of need. Both with gratitude for the past and confidence in the future, we range ourselves without fear beside Britain, Savage had vowed on the eve of war. Where she goes, we go. Where she stands, we stand. In other news, Labour has been slammed for failing to repair enough potholes last year, as well as wasting funds on road restoration projects which could have been completed at a much cheaper rate. It comes after a report found that local authorities across the UK could have repaired more than 30 million potholes last year if they adopted the lowest cost repair approach. A new investigation by Citroën UK revealed that councils could have filled over 17 times the number of potholes repaired last year if they had all paid the lowest amount possible for a single planned pothole repair. The report found that only 1.89 million potholes were filled last year, but this figure could have reached 33.3 million with a standardized approach to repairs. The findings follow the government committing an additional £1.6 billion to councils to tackle the growing pothole crisis. Citroën has now called for standardisation across councils to ensure more efficient pothole repairs throughout the country. The investigation uncovered significant disparities in pothole repair costs between local authorities across Britain. A Freedom of Information request revealed that Shetland Islands Council spent up to £656 per single planned pothole repair in 2024. Other high-spending councils included Shropshire Council at £654 and Coventry City Council at £633.90 per repair. In stark contrast, Cardiff Council spent just £4.13 on a single planned pothole repair during the same period, while Rotherham Metropolitan Borough Council £18.06, London Borough of Southwark £34.75, and East Riding of Yorkshire Council £35 were among the lowest spenders. This price disparity meant that if all 1.89 million potholes filled in 2024 were repaired at the most expensive rate, it would cost local authorities £1.24 billion. But if the same repairs were done at Cardiff's rate, it would total just £7.84 million, creating a potential saving of £1.23 billion. Citroën's research warned that the government's significant investment in pothole repairs risks being wasted without a standardised approach. If all councils adopted Cardiff's £4.13 repair rate, the government funding could potentially fix 387 million potholes. This contrasts sharply with just 2.4 million additional potholes being filled if all councils spent at the Shetland Islands rate of £656 per repair. Greg Taylor, managing director of Citroën UK, said, "Road conditions in Great Britain continue to deteriorate year on year, and our data highlights the issues around pothole repairs, in particular the considerable overspending on planned and reactive pothole repairs because of a non-standardized approach to maintenance. We're glad that the government has committed to giving councils an additional £1.6 billion to repair potholes, but without a standardized approach, this money is at risk of being wasted." What are your thoughts on what we discussed in today's video? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you've not yet already, make sure you do drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more British content. Thank you, take care, goodbye.